So I'm really excited to do my first request video on Chlorite Quartz, sometimes referred to as Chlorinated Quartz. So it's a silicate quartz group. It's still a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale because it's inside a quartz. If it was just Chlorinated on its own, it would be lower, but it's still classed as a 7 because it's within quartz. It's a storm and earth element crystal with a monoclinic crystal lattice system, and if you do my Sensing Crystal Energy workshop, you will know all about your lattice systems and how that helps us to understand some of the properties and medicines of some crystals. So just to be clear before we get into it, here are some other crystals that are often mistaken for Chlorite Quartz. We have on the left some garden quartz. All of these crystals on this slide probably contain chlorite a little bit, but they're not Chlorite Quartz because they also contain other things. So you have garden quartz on the left, which is called garden quartz because they look like little mini landscapes inside. Also, you have shamanic dream quartz, which is very similar, but you often have, they look like a lens, and they might not look like a garden, they might just have patternings. They often have a lot of smoky quartz within them, and they're unlike the garden quartz, where you have a clear quartz with a little garden display. The shamanic dream quartz will mostly have stuff going on inside it all the way through, like edge to edge, full up usually. And then the last crystal on the slide is lodolite, and lodolite actually has some feldspar in there as well, making it quite different in its mineral makeup. And it's usually quite brown, red, orange, cream. It can have some greens in there, but it's more in those earthy tone scales usually. So as it's part of the Chlorinated group, it does share some of the properties of Chimerite. So if you haven't watched that video of mine yet, I'd suggest you watch that one, just to give you like a deeper overview of Chlorinated itself as well. So during the growth cycle of a quartz crystal, a layer of chlorite or Chlorinated is deposited over the end of where the crystal is at the time, and then the quartz crystal continues to grow, so it embodies the chlorite within it. It's contained inside the quartz. But you can also get quartz crystals that are coated or layered in chlorite. So even though chlorite crystals can be found worldwide, there are particularly large deposits in South America and Madagascar. Many people believe that Madagascar was part of Lemuria, ancient Lemuria, and at some point Lemurians buried or hid many crystals, mostly what we know today as Lemurian crystals, in Brazil to keep them away from those dark lords and those that were in rule in Atlantis at the time that were abusing the power of crystals. So although we're talking about Chlorite Quartz and not anything Lemurian, I just thought that was interesting to point out that those are hotspots that we find chlorite crystals in. I'm sure there's probably something to do with the fact that these two places may share similar temperatures and climates and similar soils and makeup of the earth in those places. However, to me, the chlorite crystal would definitely be something that the Lemurian culture would resonate with really well. Once we go through the metaphysical properties in this video about Chlorite Quartz, and if you already know quite a lot about Lemurians, then it will make perfect sense. A dark green mineral consisting of a basic hydrated aluminium silicate of magnesium and iron. So inside the Chlorite Quartz we have a lot of magnesium and a lot of iron. I've covered iron as an element in a lot of my other videos about different crystals, but here's some really good basics of reasons and benefits of why we need iron and why we might use iron in our diet or as a supplement to help us. There are a ton more, but some basic ones are treating anemia, reducing fatigue, helping you sleep better, improving concentration, boosting your immunity, and obviously keeping a good quality of blood. Magnesium is also super important and super underlooked and underrated. There's hundreds more health benefits of magnesium that are not on this infographic. A good one being helping in the relief of PMS. But here we have helping in blood sugar balance, blood pressure, circulation, cellular energy production, calm nervous system, pain relief and relaxed muscles, bone density and calcium balance, joints and ligaments flexibility, and deep sleep as well, with the same as iron. Magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions in your body. It's also really good at fighting depression. It has health benefits against type 2 diabetes. It lowers blood pressure, it's anti-inflammatory, can help prevent migraines, reduces insulin resistance. It's also very helpful in treating precancerous diseases. And a magnesium elixir has a very strong focus on detoxification that can reach down to a cellular level. So taking those into consideration, it's kind of not surprising when we look at the metaphysical properties of chlorite quartz, which combines those two minerals, taking into account everything else that it is, where it's formed, how it's formed in the earth, its vibrations, and all of its other astrological, numerological, lattice systems, everything. These are the metaphysical properties of chlorite quartz. Chlorite quartz is very regenerative. It's great for physical healing, as quartz is an amplifier, and most chlorite crystals grow into natural point shapes. It makes them amazing tools for directing energy, so it makes them a great tool for natural laser wands, and also great tools for psychic surgery and cord cutting. They're highly recommended to anyone that's going through any type or form of radiation therapy. Chlorite quartz are said to help promote the flow of chi in all systems. That's your physical system, your energetic system. It just helps things get unstuck and help things to flow in all areas. There's also, I don't know if it's an old wives' tale, but there's something that will probably come up if you do your research on this crystal, where they recommend that you place a chlorite quartz point face down in the toilet tank of your house to help clear the system of your house. Lots of people are not comfortable with that. They feel quite weird putting a crystal in the toilet tank, but it will definitely help the flow, help the feng shui, those types of things in your home if you have a big point, especially if you used it in the center of a crystal grid. On a more metaphysical level, they're great connectors to nature and to nature's spirits, calling in the fae if you work with fairy. If you're stuck somewhere where you cannot access nature very often, like if you live in a city or you just don't have time, if you leave when it's dark, come home when it's dark type thing, then meditation with these crystals is highly advised. They are said to bring optimism and hope. I would suggest, if you wanted to reap that benefit, that you get a piece of jewellery, a nice chlorite quartz pendant of chlorite quartz rather than something tumbled that's set in something else would be great. You see where those like relieving depression, the magnesium comes into play here. This crystal will eliminate your fears of being poor, inferior and lacking. So anything to do with abundance blockages, whether they're financial or otherwise, obviously because it's really good at helping flow, and an abundance blockage is a blockage. So it's a very powerful purifier. It will purify and filter out any negativity in a space that it's in. So in that sense, it's great to have in a healing space. It will transmute negative energies just the same way as sage and your smoky quartz and your black tourmaline. It's also really good at dissipating frustration, fear and anger. It's also quite helpful if you want to release earthbound spirits. And speaking of the earth, it has a great connection to Gaia consciousness. It will help you to connect to the earth, and it also cleanses environmental pollutants. So also with the help in aiding to concentrate with the flow, it's also a great meditation crystal. And with its iron and its connection to the earth, it's also a very good crystal for grounding. I'd love to know your experiences and how you've been using your chlorite quartz, or how you plan to use yours. If you ever want to drop me a line or just have an informal chat, please DM me on Instagram or join my Facebook group.